Now I fix washers and dryers. I don't fix dishwashers, but I used to, and I quit on purpose. And it's not because they're hard to work on, and because it's probably the simplest machine in your kitchen, but it's something else. And for a lot of people, you'll have to look under your sink to determine why. But first, let's cover what you came here for. And that is the only dishwasher that I'd put in my own kitchen. And I'm going to cover the cheap one that lasts, and the one that I'd actually buy, and the best one that's out there. And when I do my research, I use two different sources, and they use two different methods. And surprisingly, they came up with the same brand. And surprisingly, again, it was the same exact brand that I came up with when I did my refrigerator review. But I'm not going to tell you what it is right now, because then you'll leave my video and you'll watch the rest of it, and I need you to hang around. But don't worry, I don't hand you a pick that I wouldn't stand behind. So let's get right to it. So I use the same four things that I always do, so you can check me. First, I pull the real service data. And there's a dealer up in Boston called Miele Appliance that publishes how many of the machines they sell come back for repair in the first year. Now, their dishwasher numbers this year come from more than 7,000 machines that they sold and serviced. Now, that's from real houses, not a survey that they did. Second, I pulled another source. 15 independent repair companies were asked which dishwasher brands hold up and which ones to run from. Now, that's a different method and a different bias, and that's exactly why I wanted it. And third, I looked at the machines themselves, the design, where the parts are, and what they're being asked to do. And that part I can do, that's just being a good repairman. And fourth, I talked to my network of friends that I have met here on the channel who fix these machines every day. Men in different parts of the country that actually have their hands inside these things. Real data, a second source, the machines themselves, and the men who work on them. Now, let me show you what I came up with. Before I tell you what to buy, let me take the fear out of this thing, because folks treat dishwashers like they're some kind of mystery box, and they aren't. Here's what a dishwasher is. There's one water valve, a solenoid that lets the water in. There's a washer pump that shoves the water up through the spray arms and blasts your dishes. There's a separate drain pump that pushes the dirty water back out, and there's a little computer board running the whole thing with a button panel behind the door. Now, the spray arms spin off nothing but water pressure, and there's a float down in the bottom that's a safety feature that's supposed to shut the water off before the thing overflows. And that's all there is to it. There's no transmission, there's no clutch, there's no spinning basket that's fighting itself the way a washer does. It's a simpler machine than the one that washes your clothes. So when a dishwasher gives out, it's usually one of a small handful of parts. It's a pump, a valve, the float switch, or the board. Now, there are two design choices inside these machines that decide almost everything about how they run, and nobody explains them to you before you buy, so I will. The first is how the machine handles food scraps. The old American dishwashers, and some cheap ones still today, use a hard food grinder. Now, think of it as a little garbage disposal that's built into the bottom of the dishwasher. It's not like the big beefy one that's under your sink that's going to eat a chicken bone. It's a small chopper blade down in the sump that pulverizes the soft food bits so they wash out the drain. Now, most of the time it runs right off the washer pump, and that thing's already turning. The grinder is why your grandma's dishwasher lets you get away with murder. You could leave half your supper on the plate and it'd shoot right up and drain it off. Now, the trade-off is noise and wear. It's a moving blade cutting every single cycle, and it's a big reason that those machines are loud, and it gives you one more part that's going to eventually fail. Now, the Europeans, Bosch and Miele, threw the grinder in the trash, and they went with a fine mesh filter instead. And there's nothing chopping, there's nothing grinding. The filter just catches the food particles. And every so often you need to pull that thing out and rinse it under the tap. And that's a big part of why Bosch runs so quietly. You take the grinder out and you've taken out one of the loudest things in the machine. But honestly, that filter needs cleaning, and it needs cleaning regularly. You figure about once a week to once a month, depending on how you run it. And the folks who don't know that, they let it pack up with gunk, and then the machine won't drain correctly, and it starts to stink, and they blame the dishwasher, when all along it's them. So that's your first choice right there. A grinder machine will forgive you. Leave a little more on the plate and it'll chew it up and spit it out. And you never have to touch the filter. But you're going to have to hear it run, and that chopper is one more part sitting in there waiting to wear out on you. The filter machine's another way around it. It's quiet and there's less inside the brake, but you've got to pull that filter and rinse it every so often. Me, I'd take the filter. Yeah, I'd rather rinse the screen off once a month than to listen to a blade grinding for the next 10 years. Now, my mom, she used to wash her dishes by hand before she even put them in the dishwasher. She'd scrub them clean and put them back in the dishwasher and run it. And I'd ask her why, and she'd say, because that's the way she does her dishes and mind your own business. You couldn't argue with her. She had her way of doing things, and you're not going to change it. But here's the thing, she wasn't just wasting a sink full of hot water. She was making the machine actually work harder or clean worse. Because the modern dishwasher detergent is enzyme based and it's built to grab onto food and grease and eat it. Now if you rinse a plate spotless before it goes in the dishwasher, those enzymes, they haven't got anything to grab onto, so they're going to turn on your glassware and the rubber seals inside the machine instead. And my mom thought that she was helping it, and she was quietly working against it the whole time. So here's the right way, and you don't have to take my word for it. This comes from Miele's appliance advice that I've been quoting all along. You scrape it, don't rinse it, knock the bones and the chunks in the trash because those big chunks are going to clog that filter. But leave a smear here and leave the grease and sauce on there. And because the machine wants a little something to work on. And that's true whether you've got a grinder or a filter. So Ma, if you're listening from up there, I love you, but I was right. You scrape it, don't rinse. All right, now let me show you what the numbers say. The whole dishwasher category runs at about 8.8% service rate. That means on average, a little better than 1 in 10 comes back for repair in the first year. Now here's where the brands split. The most reliable dishwasher anyone tracks is Miele, with 5.6% service rate. And that means only about 1 machine in 18 comes back in the first year. Now the second safest is Bosch, right around 7.8%. And both of them sit well under that category average. And on the other end, the fancy brands, Cafe and Fisher and Paykel, both run above 16%. So that's the same thing I told you about the refrigerators. The fancier you go, the more there is to break. 16% means about 1 in 6 people see a technician the first year after they buy it. Then I went to my second source, 15 independent repair companies. 11 of the 15 named Bosch the most reliable dishwasher brand. No one named it the worst. And 5 of the 15 named the same brand to avoid, which I'm going to get to in a minute. So that's 2 different sources measuring 2 completely different ways. One counting service calls in real homes, and one asking 15 independent repair shops what they put in their own kitchen. And they both said Bosch. When 2 different roads lead to the same door, that's the door that I'm going to walk to. Now, let me give you the machine starting with the cheapest. If what you want is a solid dishwasher that's not going to rob you and it won't quit, you want to start here. The Whirlpool WDT750SAKZ. It runs somewhere around $650 to $750 in the summer of 2026. It's got a stainless steel tub, a 3rd rack up on top for your silverware, and it's assembled in Ohio. It runs at 47 decibels, which means you can tell it's on from the next room, but it's not going to stop a conversation. And Whirlpool's got a long track record of holding up. The Yale people had Whirlpool running under 4.5% service for a good stretch of the last decade. It's about the lowest anybody tracked. Now Whirlpool will tell you this one's got sensors and AI on the wash cycle, and it does. But underneath all that, it's a straightforward machine. There's no fancy touch screen to go out on you, no app you've got to fight with. Just buttons that work, and parts and repairmen are really easy to come by on these machines. And if you're watching your dollars, this is the machine that you can buy and forget about. Now, if you can spend a little more, here's the one that I'd buy, is the Bosch, the 500 series. The model number for that is SHP65DM5N. It's in stainless steel. It runs right around $1,000. It's the same brand that I sent you after on the refrigerators, and it's no accident. When a brand that keeps landing at the top of two different reliability lists, kitchen after kitchen, you can quit calling it love. And here's what that $1,000 is going to get you. It's quiet. It comes in at 44 decibels, and that's about like light rain. You know it's running, but it's not going to stop a conversation, and it's not going to step on the TV. It's got that fine mesh filter we talked about, no grinder, so it stays quiet, and there's less inside to wear out. It's got a third rack and a feature called auto air that cracks the door open at the end of the cycle to let the steam out, so your dishes actually come out dry. But here's the one that hits home for me. It's got a system called AquaStop. That's a sensor that watches for a leak. If it detects one, the machine shuts itself off, the water at the valve goes off and pumps itself out, even if you're not at home. That's the pick that I'd choose. The Bosch 500. That's the best machine you can get without paying for stuff you don't need. Now, real quick before I give you the top of the line, I sell guides on Gumroad. If you want to support the channel, I don't have any dishwasher guides. My repair guides are for washers and dryers. But if that's what's giving you trouble, they're over there on Gumroad, and the links are going to be in the description. I write them in plain language, step by step, the way I'd walk you through it if I was standing in the kitchen with you. And I'd appreciate it if you could look them over. And all right, so enough of that. Let's get back to it. Now, if you want the best that there is, step up to the Bosch 800 series. The model SHP65DM5N. It runs about $1,500. But the 800 is rated at 42 decibels. The 500 is 44. And I'm going to be honest with you, 2 decibels isn't something that you're even going to notice. Anybody who tells you differently is they're trying to sell you the higher model one. So don't buy this one for the quiet, buy it for the drying, because it's got a system called Crystal Dry, and it's the best dryer money can buy. Now, every dishwasher dries, but the quiet ones like Bosch dry by letting the tub cool off, which leaves your plastic wet because plastic doesn't hold heat. Now, Crystal Dry fixes that. It'll get your plastic containers dry. If a wet cup dries you up the wall, this is going to be your machine. Is it worth $500 more? Well, that's on you. Reliability is the same as the 500. You're not buying a machine that lasts longer. You're just buying dry plastic containers. Me, I'm going to take the 500 and keep the $500 in my pocket. And one more for the person who's got the money and wants the best built machine on the market. That's going to be the Miele. It's the most reliable dishwasher there is, and folks who own them, they talk about 15 years without a service call. But Miele's a specialty brand, and out here where I am and where a lot of you are, there's not going to be a qualified repairman on every corner. Most people are not even going to touch it. One machine that never breaks is worth a lot less if the one time that it does, there's nobody around that can work on it. So I admire it, but for most of you, I wouldn't buy it. I told you that 5 of those 15 repair shops named a brand to avoid. Well, it's Samsung. And you'll notice Samsung's not on my list of picks anywhere. And it's not in Yale's reliability numbers either. They don't rank it because they won't service Samsung dishwashers. And out of those 15 independent repair companies, not a single one recommended Samsung. And 5 of them named it the one to stay away from. When the men who fix these things for a living won't touch a brand, that tells you something. And that's the same brand that I flagged on the washers and the refrigerators. The same company, the same parts headache. I'm just telling you what I run into. Now, one quick thing before the important part. Those Bosch model numbers look like license plate numbers, but don't let them scare you. The letters and numbers just stand for things like the handle, the color, the year it was made. So the same machine can show up under a few different numbers. If the one I gave you is bumped by a letter, it's likely the same dishwasher in a different color or last year's run and probably cheaper. The same goes for Whirlpool. So don't chase my number exactly. Match the specifications against the ones that I told you, and you've got the right machine. All right, here's the part that I care most about. This is the one place in this whole video where I know exactly what I'm talking about because I learned it the hard way with my own money. The dishwasher is the easy part. It's simple. It'll mostly last, and I just gave you the good ones. What it'll cost you is everything around it. The plumbing it ties into and the counter it hangs from. Now let me tell you two stories. The first one, early on when I took this business over, I was working on dishwashers. I pulled a dishwasher to swap it, and the drain that was tied into an old S-trap under the sink. And it was so rotten it broke off in my hand. Now, I'm not there to fix a sink drain. I'm there to install a dishwasher. But you can't leave a man with a broken drain. So I spent half a day running all over the parish chasing plumbing parts. And I ate the cost of fixing that homeowner's rotten plumbing out of my own pocket. That was the day I started thinking dishwashers weren't going to be for me. Now the second experience sealed it. A dishwasher screws up under a countertop with two little brackets so it can't tip forward when you drop the door open and pull the rack out. And that anchor is only as strong as what it's screwed into. And a whole lot of countertops, especially the older laminate ones, are particle board underneath. Now this house had the sink right next to the dishwasher, most of them do, and years of little drips had run over the edge of that and soaked into that particle board. And when I went to screw the machine back up, the countertop crumbled like stale cornbread. The homeowner wanted me to buy him a new countertop to replace the one damaged by years of his own drips. And we went round and round, and in the end I told him just keep the repair money. But there was no way on God's green earth that I was buying him a countertop. I lost money on that one too, and that was the last dishwasher that I ever repaired. After all, I'm semi-retired, and I try to make it easy on myself. If I were a younger man, I'd still be dealing with dishwashers, but I'm not. So here's what I want you to do before you spend a dime on any dishwasher. Go look under your counter, see if you need to upgrade your plumbing or change the countertop before installing that new dishwasher. Look at the drain plumbing and see if it's solid or if it's rotten. Then reach up under the lip of that counter where the dishwasher is going to be installed and see if that's still hard or whether it's gone soft and spongy from water contamination. Find the rot before your installer does, because if you don't, you're going to be the one standing in your kitchen wondering how buying a new dishwasher became a full kitchen remodel. Now you see why on that Bosch 500 that the leak stop system is a feature that I circled. When you've mopped up as many dishwasher floods as I have, a machine that shuts its own water off, it's worth more than any fancy cycle for sure. So if you want a solid machine that won't rob you, choose the Whirlpool WDT750SAKZ, plain and stout, it'll do you right. If you want the one I'd put my own money on, is the Bosch 500 series, the SHP65DM5N. Quiet, reliable, and it watches its own water line. And if you want the best there is, get the Bosch 800, the SHP78CM5N, with the best drying device in there that the money can buy. You want to steer clear of that fancy stuff that breaks, and you know already how I feel about Samsung. And whatever you buy, go look under your counter first. Check the drain and feel the countertop. Do it before you spend the money, not after. The links to these are going to be down below. If you buy them through them, it throws a few dollars my way, and it keeps the lights on around here. It didn't change a word of what I told you. I don't fix dishwashers anymore, but I know how to research one. I know a simple machine when I see one, and I know exactly what happens after you get it home. That's all for now. I'm Chip with Harper.